The government has admitted that it will miss its deadline, its own deadline, to bring in the Hillsborough Law, which passes today. The deadline passes today, not the law. They've missed it. It would have forced public officials to act with honesty and transparency to stop cover-ups in official investigations and inquiries.
Well, today marks 36 years since the Hillsborough tragedy, when 97 Liverpool supporters lost their lives as a result of a fatal crowd crush during the FA Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest in Sheffield. Emily Malek has the story.
The Hillsborough Law will be introduced to Parliament before the next anniversary in April.
A promise made by the Prime Minister in September that the government has now failed to keep. The Hillsborough Law, which families of victims and survivors have campaigned tirelessly for, would guard against future cover-ups by implementing a legally enforceable duty of candour on public authorities. 97 football fans were unlawfully killed as a result of the crowd crush at the FA Cup semi-final in 1989. Since the disaster, many individuals and emergency services were accused of covering up the causes of the disaster.
I think it's very important to try and create a legacy. That's what they deserve.
It's hoped it will get victims of future scandals to get justice. But now campaigners are concerned that the law could be watered down.
Well, we're joined now by Margaret Aspinall, who's been campaigning for justice ever since her son James was one of those killed in the disaster 36 years ago. 36 years ago. I mean, Margaret, you were barely out of your 30s when this awful thing happened.
No,
you were
I was
42?
I was 40, going on 42.
Going on 42.
Yes.
And now, if you don't mind me saying so, because we can all do the sums, you're nearly pushing 80. So this has absolutely dominated virtually your entire second half of your adult life, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. But also not just my life, but also my family's life as well, because it's been a knock-on effect to the children. They were only 6, 7, 9, 15 at the time. And now, you know, they've got children of their own. And I feel as if one of my grandchildren, actually, when I was working in the office, phoned up. And our secretary at that time, Sue Roberts, who lost her brother, she was the secretary, answered the phone and she said, Margaret, it's somebody for you. And it was my granddaughter saying, can I have an appointment to see you, to see my nan?
But you see, typically of you're talking about other people and you're concerned for other people and the younger people. Just I want to talk a little bit about you. As I say, half a lifetime, 42, now you're nearly almost 80. You must sometimes think to yourself, if this hadn't happened, my life would be so different.
Absolutely. And, you know, and a lot of the families' lives would have been different as well, not just mine. You know, and I think, you know, you'd have had... I'm not saying it'd have been different in I don't know what way it'd have been different, but I didn't realise that I would be able to speak to certain people like prime ministers as well at that time. Who'd have ever thought
but have you ever
had to have done that?
Have you ever been tempted over those years, I mean, you must have been, to just draw a veil over it all and move on completely and just think, well, I've done everything I can, enough, I have a life to live?
Well, of course, I've many a time thought that, and especially, you know, because when you're dealing with, and not just me, I've got to keep saying this because there's so many people involved, but when you're dealing with so many families and every one of them have different issues, it's very, very difficult, and sometimes you take a lot of grief, and it's unfairly at times, but at the same time, you've got to try and do your best for them families, especially them people who have died, because I've always thought we've got to be their voices, their ears, their eyes, to do our best for them. And this is why, to me, a Hillsborough Law is so important for other people.
Because you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to others. It must be very frustrating for you that you were promised twice, weren't you, by Keir Starmer, that this would come in by today, by the 36th anniversary. And one of those times was in a phone call that he made to you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was a phone call at on my private line at home. And he did promise me, you know, and I'm not going to knock him for this. There's no way I'm going to do that. But what I will say is I'm disappointed it's not come out for the anniversary. But at the same time, I wouldn't have accepted it being watered down.
No.
Because to me, it's like, if it's watered down, it's like giving me a jigsaw puzzle and there's a couple of pieces missing out of that jigsaw, so it's not a jigsaw puzzle, if you see what I mean.
So they're saying they're taking their time...
I wanted in all its entirety.
To make it right. So
yes.
You would rather actually, bearing all that in mind, say, let's get it right.
It's got to be right, yes. Otherwise, I will not accept it. I can't speak for other people, obviously, but if it's not in all its entirety, I want nothing to do with it.
So what you seem to be saying is that if a somewhat terrible disaster were to happen again, as they do, and an official at a reasonably top level were to be seen, to be found, to obfuscating the truth, covering up, being dishonest, then that would be an offence.
Of course
it would be something that they could be gone after for.
Exactly, Richard. That's exactly what I say, because you can get the organisations, but that's, to me, it's got to be about individuals as well. You've got to have an... And if they do lie, there's got to be criminal sanctions or definitely criminal charges. But also, it's not just about that as well, even though the duty of candour is very important. It's also about full disclosure. We didn't get the truth until 2016, when we got the unlawfully killed bit. But all that evidence was there for all of them years. And every court case that we went down, we were getting told, you've got to have new evidence.
And it was there.
We couldn't get hold of the evidence. They wouldn't give it. They wouldn't release it.
That's a frustrating thing, that over the years, because of that, it's made it so much more difficult and painful for the families, hasn't it?
Exactly.
When you look back, obviously today is the 36th anniversary of when it happened. Your lovely boy James, with his whole life ahead of him, died on that day, didn't he? So I know, thank you for coming in to talk to us today, because I know how much this day must mean to you. What will you be doing today in his memory?
In James's memory, obviously, I'm going straight from here anyway, hopefully to the memorial for the minute silence, because I like to be with the people of Merseyside, you know, because this is not just about myself and the families, this is about the survivors of that day as well. And I like to be with them as much as I can, as well as being with my family. And then hopefully we'll go home and just reflect what might have been, what could have been, what should have been, you know?
How strong in your memory, after all these years, as I say, 36 years, so this young man went off to see his first football game.
Yes.
With hope and happiness in his heart, and he never came home. But all that time, how fresh and sort of unburnished in your memory is he today?
I think of James every day anyway. I think, you know, it's like all the families. I think of James every day, and no day is different to me, because each day I get up, I still say, good morning, James. I know it sounds ridiculous.
No, it doesn't.
Because I've got his photograph at the side of me bed. Morning, son, I hope you're okay. Don't know what you're doing today, but one day I'll find out what you've been up to, you know? And you just try to live your life as normal. You've got to, for your children, your grandchildren. You've got to try. And when I say this is so important, because I think they're 97, they deserve this legacy. Them survivors deserve this legacy. And to me, it's so important to change things, and a law that's been so corrupt. Pre-Hillsborough, not just Hillsborough, but pre-Hillsborough, so corrupt. And truth being hidden for all of them years. I think it's important we change this law. It's got to change for the good of the ordinary people of this nation.
And well
it's got to be a level playing field also.
For continuing that fight.
Just one more question to you about your lovely boy here. You talk about talking to him every morning, saying hi to him and asking what he's doing. When your time comes, as it's going to come for all of us at some point,
it's got to
do you think you'll see him again?
Oh, yes, absolutely, I will see James again. I believe that so strongly. If I didn't, who knows what I might have done.
But you think he's there waiting for you?
Because of that, I've got to be able to see James, so I'm trying to live a good life.
Oh, so much love to you, Margaret.
Thank you.
I know that today's a very emotional day for you, isn't it? So we're so grateful for you coming in, for talking about this, for continuing to campaign, to fight that fight in James's memory. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.